Who are you asking to leave? Leave, leave. Who are you asking to leave? Leave. Why should I leave? I'm spending money here. I'm buying coffee. Why should I leave?
A 14-second exchange took place at ZUS Coffee, Malaysia's largest local coffee chain, on November 9. According to Malaysian media, a Chinese woman clashed with a staff member while waiting for her drink. She filmed the incident and later posted it on TikTok. The video quickly gained over 2 million views in just one day, sparking widespread reactions online in Malaysia. Reports say the altercation started when the woman argued with the staff. She filmed the employee during the confrontation. When the staff member asked her to leave, the woman lost control, yelling loudly, knocking items off the counter, and even throwing her coffee at the employee. The employee was upset, and a physical altercation followed. However, the video is brief, and the full context is unclear, as it was filmed by the Chinese woman herself. There are several different accounts of what sparked the incident. Witnesses online have shared differing accounts of the incident. One version claims the woman was smoking inside the store and was asked to leave by the staff. Another version suggests she grew frustrated after waiting too long for her drink, complained about the slow service, and assumed the staff couldn't understand Chinese. After the incident gained attention, ZUS Coffee issued a statement. They confirmed that they had contacted the parties involved and were looking into the matter. The company expressed their support for their staff and urged the public to respect their employees' privacy, stop sharing the video, and cease spreading rumors about the individuals involved. Public opinion on social media largely sided against the Chinese woman, with 99.9% of Malaysian commenters blaming her. One comment read, "You can file a complaint against the store or the staff, but even if the staff was at fault, you can't just throw your coffee and use bad language. If this happened in Singapore, you'd be arrested by now." Recently, there has been a series of incidents involving Chinese tourists in Malaysia, almost like an ongoing drama. Examples include the Chinese female student who randomly ran over a pedestrian while driving, as well as reports of line cutting and even physical altercations in convenience stores. Some netizens have pointed out a common pattern in these events. Many Chinese tourists start with improper behavior, and when their actions are called out, they often escalate the situation with retaliation and aggression. On the other hand, some Chinese influencers have offered a different perspective and reflect on the issue from another angle.
我觉得我们中国人在国外其实也应该保持自己的素质。
I think as Chinese people abroad, we really should maintain our own standards. No matter what's right or wrong in a situation, there is no need to use foul language so easily. When I worked in tourism in Malaysia, I saw so many fellow Chinese, most of them with quick tempers. For example, if lunch wasn't to their liking, or if the boat trip got delayed, or if the weather caused the trip to be cancelled, they would just start swearing at me, one after another. Of course, I have to say, most of the people I know in the service industry in Malaysia are really great. Security guards, cashiers, and even the guys at the stalls. They always greet you with a smile. Even when I've been to Starbucks so many times, the attitude has always been good. I don't know how this happened, so I won't comment on it. But I think when we're abroad, we really need to pay attention to how we express ourselves and our overall behavior. There's no need to swear like that, right? According to these reports, some Chinese people have developed an obnoxious attitude, and a very similar incident occurred in Guizhou, China in September. A woman ordered milk tea for pickup on a platform but couldn't find the store location and wanted to cancel the order. The shop refused the refund, as per their policy. After finding the store, she picked up the drink but didn't take it away. Instead, she poured the milk tea inside the shop and left. The scene is nearly identical to the ZUS Coffee incident in Malaysia. The customer's frustration boiled over, and she resorted to revenge behavior to express her dissatisfaction. However, this only worsens the situation, rather than solving the problem. In many countries, once the product is made, the order is considered fulfilled, and the store has the right to decide whether to offer a refund. This is a basic business principle. When customers make extra demands, the store also has the right to refuse. Business relationships are based on mutual respect, not the idea that the customer is always right. However, in China today, years of propaganda under the Chinese Communist Party have eroded basic moral principles, leading many to believe that spending money means they are the most important, forgetting that business relationships should be based on mutual respect, not one-sided obedience. Hong Kong YouTuber Jerison conducted further investigation into the ZUS Coffee incident in Malaysia and discovered another possibility. He suggests that the Chinese woman involved may not have been an ordinary tourist. Jerison pointed out that based on her TikTok activity, the woman had frequently appeared in Sihanoukville, Cambodia, a place known for being a hub of scams and shady industries. Her repeated visits raised suspicions among some netizens that her background might be connected to a fraud ring. Since Malaysia and China signed a visa-free agreement, similar incidents have noticeably increased. Many locals have also observed that, along with the influx of Chinese people, China's involation culture, an internet term for fierce competition, has begun to seep into Malaysia. A Chinese driver said, "It's getting competitive now. I'm an old guy. I used to do wholesale. I would buy goods in Guangzhou, selling wholesale glasses. I've been doing it for 15 years, and everything was fine. But since last year, things started going downhill. We're just middlemen, making a profit from the price difference and volume. But now we can't even make money from the volume or the price difference. The profit keeps getting thinner." Yeah, a lot of Chinese people are coming here to start companies, and they're pushing the prices down. Exactly. Since last year, they've been opening companies directly here and going straight to the manufacturers. The middlemen are slowly being phased out. No wonder I've been losing money, always having to cover the difference. This can't go on. So I started driving for a side job. Why do many people abroad feel frustrated with some Chinese individuals' behavior? It's because these inappropriate actions keep happening, making their impressions of Chinese people worse. They even start questioning, should we continue offering visa-free entry? Is it safe to allow them free entry for tourism? Should we tighten policies in the future? These questions have become a topic of discussion in many countries. A tour guide commented, "I've been an official tour guide for European countries for many years, and I've hosted tourists from all over the world. When you go through customs, you get a very clear feeling. European and American countries are much more likely to give secondary checks to Chinese passport holders compared to others. Because of my job, I've heard a lot of stories about Chinese tourists being taken into small rooms, having their phones checked, being asked about their jobs, and having their luggage searched, while tourists from other countries usually get through without any issues. The reason is simple. You're Chinese, and they assume you're more likely to bring in items that don't meet the regulations." A Chinese influencer filmed a hotel in Vladivostok, Russia at 3 a.m. The entire building was quiet. But in one room, a Chinese couple was still loudly arguing. The influencer helplessly remarked, "After watching this video, you'll understand why Russia doesn't offer visa-free entry for China."
兄弟们，就咱们国人的素质啊，确实有个别的走出国门了，真的有待提高。
Guys, when it comes to our own people's behavior, there are definitely a few who really need to improve once they go abroad. Right now it's 3 a.m. in Vladivostok, Russia, and a couple over there is arguing. The security has come up several times. The neighbors on both sides in this Russian hotel room have come out, but the arguing continues. Listen to this. It's 3 a.m. now, and this is for a hotel room that costs over 1,000 yen. Just listen. My goodness, I paid for a hotel room and was woken up in a foreign country. But it wasn't a Russian who was making noise. It was our fellow Chinese. This family's fighting so loudly, I'm thinking of going downstairs for some fresh air. I'm planning to just stay up. Listen, they're still fighting. The whole hallway is filled with noise. The security even came up. Our people's behavior really blows my mind. Just now, I heard the neighbors, and it seems like they called security. The security knocked on the door, and this couple inside didn't say a word, not even opening the door to explain to the security or apologize, saying something like, "Sorry, we had a bit too much to drink," or getting loud. They never even opened the door, and now they're quiet. You know, how bad must our reputation be in their eyes? The neighbors just asked, "Which language are they speaking in that room?" The security said, "Maybe they're North Koreans, or maybe Chinese." I opened the door and said, "No, they're not Chinese. I don't understand what they're saying." Friends, to be honest, sometimes I wonder why Russians haven't lifted the visa requirement for us. After watching this video today, I think those who understand will get it. It's not because they're afraid of us being too many, it's because... Recently, a Chinese tourist at the Vientiane high-speed rail station in Laos was told that bicycles were not allowed on the train. This meets the domestic travel requirements. The length, width, and height are all up to standard. We meet the domestic boarding standards here. The size is all within the limits. You're not letting me abroad, and even took my bike. We've taken the train to Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, and it was fine. This is high-speed rail built by China too, right? This Chinese tourist kept speaking in Chinese, repeatedly stressing that his actions were in line with Chinese domestic standards. In the end, he annoyed the high-speed rail staff, who angrily told him to get off the train. Seeing that the tourist wouldn't leave, the staff had no choice but to take his bike outside the high-speed rail station. This meets the standard in our country, in China. An influencer said,
出了国之后才发现井底之蛙这个词儿真的具象化了。
After going abroad, I realized how much the phrase "a frog at the bottom of the well" really applies. I used to think that netizens back home had a pretty broad view with the internet, but I didn't expect people's understanding to still be so limited. Some say that Chinese tourists fear two things the most when traveling abroad: being labeled as an uncivilized tourist and feeling discriminated against. Recently, a Chinese travel industry professional experienced a situation at a Thai airport that made him question everything. He filmed a video accusing Malaysia Airlines staff of discriminating against Chinese passengers. He explained that during China's Golden Week holiday, he was preparing to fly from Thailand to Malaysia to explore new travel routes. However, when he presented his Chinese passport, the counter staff requested cash, hotel booking details, and a return ticket. This series of additional demands made him feel targeted.
居然歧视中国人。
The airline actually discriminated against Chinese people. I've already spoken to the airport staff, so only those Chinese who have not stopped over in China can board? They told me they were refusing to let me on the flight. Chinese people should go back to China. At first, I thought this was just a joke or slogan from 10 or 20 years ago, but on this national day, because I have a Chinese passport, I faced all kinds of hassles and discrimination. The tens of thousands of yuan I lost went straight into their pockets. Here's what happened. I originally planned to develop a tourism route in Malaysia, so I bought a ticket from Bangkok to Malaysia to check it out first. Today, while I was in line for check-in at the airport, there were people from all over the world ahead of me. Each of them just showed their passport, checked in, got their boarding pass, and walked off. When we pulled out our Chinese passports, the staff's attitude changed immediately. She then asked if we had cash with us, and we said yes. She told us, "Show it to me. Let me count it." So we showed it to her. She then asked if we had hotel booking info, and we showed that too. Then she asked if we had a return ticket, and we showed her the ticket from Malaysia back to Bangkok. Then the staff asked, "Why aren't you going back to China?" I told her we were going to spend a few more days in Bangkok after Malaysia. She said no. We had to buy a ticket from Bangkok to China before she would give us a boarding pass. And she said Chinese people should go back to China. I asked her, "Why didn't you ask the Europeans and Americans in front of me to go back to their countries? Why didn't you tell them to go back to India, the US, or the UK? You just gave them their boarding passes and didn't even ask them if they had cash with them. But when it comes to us, you ask us to show you our cash?" She said it was company policy. So it's Malaysia Airlines? The tour operator later explained that with the flight time approaching, they had no choice but to purchase a last-minute ticket for a flight from Bangkok to China. However, after booking the ticket, The staff informed them that they had not complied with the airline rules, so they were denied boarding. Their ticket wasn't refunded. In the end, they lost over 4,000 yen, along with hotel and return ticket costs. After reporting the incident to the police, the response they received was, "You can switch to another airline." Another Chinese influencer mentioned that nowadays he avoids using his Chinese passport when abroad. The influencer mentioned that recently many Chinese people have had their visa applications to Mongolia for tourism or investment rejected, and this rejection only applies to Chinese nationals.
事情的起因是这样的。
This is how it all started. At a Chinese company near Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, nearly 80% of the Chinese employees were working there on tourist visas. Then one day, the immigration office received a tip-off saying that several employees at the company were working with invalid visas. As you can imagine, the result was predictable. The workers were deported with black marks on their full records, the company was shut down, and a series of penalties followed. After the incident, the police arrested the people involved, and some local media outlets started releasing videos saying Chinese people are working illegally in Mongolia, which made the local people really angry. So the local government decided to suspend issuing visas to Chinese nationals. Earlier this year, they also caught some people working with tourist visas in Mongolia. Think about it. When something like this happens, how do the locals view Chinese people? They'll just think all Chinese people have problems. Now, when I go abroad, unless it's absolutely necessary, I rarely bring out my Chinese passport. Because, let's be honest, when you think about it objectively, the electric scams in Myanmar, the kidnappings of Chinese people in the Philippines, aren't they all linked to us Chinese? The image of Chinese companies going abroad is being tarnished little by little. Why do these conflicts often seem to focus on Chinese people? One netizen commented, "If this happens, you should blame those yellow countrymen who are causing trouble. There are just too many people scamming others abroad. You can't blame us. We have to be strict to prevent more people from being harmed." Although this statement is harsh, it reflects part of the reality. In recent years, Southeast Asia has frequent reports of scams, underground activities, and shady industries involving Chinese nationals. As a result, if a Chinese tourist's itinerary, stay, or financial situation seems unusual, they're more likely to face additional scrutiny or even suspicion. Of course, this doesn't mean that all Chinese people are engaged in illegal activities. However, internationally, the high-risk label has quietly been applied. A netizen in Kazakhstan shared that their factory was also inspected by the immigration authorities because the workers were on tourist visas. They'll have to pay the fine soon, and a court hearing is scheduled for later. Another netizen raised the question, why are so many Chinese people working abroad illegally? The most straightforward reason is that China's unemployment rate remains high. Even when people have jobs, they often work 12-hour shifts with little rest and low wages. In such a tense environment, more and more Chinese individuals are willing to take the risk of working illegally abroad. The Chinese Communist Party has long undermined traditional Chinese culture, replacing it with party culture, which has caused many Chinese people to lose sight of virtues like respect and politeness. Of course, these individuals do not represent all Chinese people, but they have certainly damaged the image of China to seem as if it's a nation without etiquette. From China once being known for politeness and wisdom to now being criticized as barbaric by outsiders. It's truly disheartening. In ancient China, ritual propriety was not just about following behavioral norms, but also about showing reverence for the divine and continuing the principles of the heavenly way. Through ritual propriety, people could elevate their personal virtue. Ritual propriety itself also helped stabilize society, maintain order between different social levels, and ensured long-lasting peace for the nation. If modern Chinese people were to embrace and respect it, interpersonal relationships wouldn't be so tense. Traditional Chinese culture teaches the value of harmony. When conflicts arise, it's about avoiding the desire to win, not forcing others to accept one's viewpoint, and even when in the right, being willing to compromise. However, These fundamental qualities are what many Chinese people are now lacking.